Thanks for staying with us here on TVC Breakfast. It's now time for us to look at what the papers are reporting this morning. Let's have a peek through first. The Nation newspaper with the main headline, Southwest rises against bandits. Governors plan forest surveillance to halt terrorist incursion. It's time for state police. Next paper is This Nigeria. Southwest governors to federal government. State police can no longer wait. Governors raise the alarm over criminal takeover of regional forests. Next paper is the Nigerian Tribune with the kicker, insecurity. And the headline reads, Southwest governors advocate enhanced forest surveillance. The writers want federal government to deploy forest guards across region, to set up regional security fund, intelligence sharing system. Demand state police now, express concern on unregulated interstate migration. Next is the Guardian newspaper. Military decries complexity of threats as Southwest governors call for state police. You see that on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. The Punch newspaper, kidnapping crisis. Governors convene emergency session. School lockdowns rise. 19 northern governors to meet. Southwest plans forest surveillance. Unions fault lockdowns and Tinubu reject mercenaries. Next is the Blueprint newspaper. How Tinubu coordinated rescue of 38 Eruku church members. Bandits control Kwara forest. Survivors recount. And president determined to end challenges. That's according to Idris. Next is the Daily Times. Federal government talks with U.S. officials to strengthen security partnership protection as Nigeria launches 5-year counterterrorism plan. Next is the Hope newspaper. Nigeria, U.S. deepen defense ties in fresh security pact. Washington signals readiness to boost intelligence sharing, supply military hardware. Countries agree on coordinated actions to protect vulnerable communities. Next is the Leadership newspaper. Alleged troop withdrawal before abduction. Reactions as Kebbi governor asks National Assembly to probe military. Niger, 253 nursery, primary school, secondary school pupils among missing. The missing 265. Huge number there. Now on the Platform Times, Minister fingered as 6 CAC vehicles go missing in audit probe. 5 vehicles traced to FMITI, one of the 8 of Permanent Secretary, and over 242 million naira questionable spending uncovered. And last but not least is Galatasaray versus Saint-Gilloise. Hamstring strain stops Osimhen. And then summer transfer target. Barca, PSG, ambush. Osimhen is the big ball here. Let's get down to brass tacks. Etoma and of course Ria. Let me add myself this time around.
And Ibrahim.
Okay, so looking at the front pages of the newspapers, we see the Nation newspaper, we see This Nigeria, we see Nigerian Tribune, the Guardian newspaper, the Punch newspaper, Blueprint newspaper, all talking about the insecurity in the country, and then the meeting by the Southwest governors who are bracing up. Although they've always been meeting, but this time around they're saying that they are approving forest surveillance, and then state police can't wait. We discussed this yesterday. But Etoma, what do you make of this recent development coming from the Southwest and indeed the nation as a whole?
You know, the Southwest had alluded to what they have just approved now some time ago. You know, that you remember when they were talking about deploying drones to the forest to police the forest and know where the camps of these bandits are and so on. I like the fact that they have finally decided that, look, we just can't sit down and cross our legs. We have to do something about this. Luckily, the Southwest has a Moteco already, you know, so they already have an organ that can carry out this directive, but they are also asking for the National Guard, the Forest Guards, to be deployed to the Southwest. It is very, very important that this is done in the Southwest, because we know that bandits have camps in forests in the Southwest. So flush them out. Let them flush them out and get the roads to be better. Do you know it takes almost a day and a half to travel from Lagos to Ilorin? Because the drivers will say, okay, around that area, that area is not too good. They'll stay here and wait until they are sure that that place is clear before they move again. This is a journey that ordinarily should take 5 hours. Now you use 1.5 days to do that. It is important that this approval has been gotten, and it is unanimous. What I expect is that from today, they start policing the forest in the southwest.
And Ria, if you look at the governors, they did not only talk about state police, they also talked about food security. Yeah. They've been meeting. They met, sometime. I think 2 months or 3 months or thereabouts. Where they discussed agriculture, how they can. Now everyone is talking about insecurity because you can't even talk about farming. You can't talk about going into the forest without you having requisite security apparatus, safeguarding the lives of citizens. But do you feel it is not another lead profession they are paying to this crisis? Because everyone seems to rise when there is a problem. But by the time it begins to simmer, then everyone goes back to their
shop. And that's why we always say proactive and not reactive. But I don't even want to take this as Southwest. I want to take this as the nation in a whole, because Nigeria is one at the end of the day. Ibrahim, it's just sad to see the level of insecurity we see. I'm Gen Z, so I'm always on social media. I watched a video yesterday of, a bandit coming out to speak on social media, on TikTok. And I worry that at what point did we get to that these people now have the audacity to come out and start even making videos? I feel like these conversations they're having are conversations that should be had a long time ago, and, action should have been taken. We talk about insecurity. You're talking about food. How do you eat when you're not even sure if you wake up the next morning? How do our farmers go to farm when they are not even sure of their lives? So let's even keep food aside and first talk about the security, because for every country, if there's no security, your economy cannot grow, nothing can grow. I'm just hoping that right now we take the bull by the horn. We're talking about state policing. Yesterday we had, Razak Olokoba on the show. We have mentioned how important state policing is. Ibrahim, since I came to TVC, we've been talking about state policing. At what point will it be implemented? Because I remember telling Razak that if we know that state policing is going to be the way forward, what is holding us back? We cannot keep giving these bandits for them to feel like, oh, they have overpowered us, or to feel like we're afraid of them. Because at the end of the day, why do we have our military? Why do we have our force people? It's to take care of us. And every citizen in Nigeria deserves to be safe. I'm just praying, and I always like to put prayer first, and hoping that the federal government will take the bull by the horn. I know our president is, doing a whole lot to make sure that peace and tranquility is back in Nigeria. But if we do not have this peace and safety, it's going to be a big problem. Christmas is coming. People are afraid to travel. People do not even want to go to their villages because they're scared. That's right.
So, Etima, if you look at the Tribune newspaper saying the same thing, now they actually want the federal government to deploy forest guards, across the region to set up regional security fund intelligence sharing system. So it is one thing for them to say, we want to deploy people into the forest. Who are these? Is it the locals, people who understand terrain? Because these bandits, before they come into the country, they come into those places, they operate, they study it first. I don't know how they do it. Do they come as normal, buying and selling kind of a thing, or do they come as babambola, or do they come? I do not get it. So
how are the borders tight, actually? Are we tightening our borders?
Yeah, we'll get there. So funding is one, is a very critical thing. We know that Lagos State has this security trust fund. What about other states, and how are we utilizing this fund? Let's talk about funding, insecurity locally.
In the southwest, apart from Lagos, I think there are 2 or 3 other states that have been saying a whole lot of things about the security trust fund before now. But right now, it is imperative that there's a common purse for the whole Southwest. I want to stay with the Southwest. I don't want to go national now. Let's stay with the Southwest, because if Southwest records a very good success, they would have created a template for other regions to follow, depending on terrain and all that.
That's right.
If they are going to deploy people into the forest, obviously it has to be people that know the terrain. Now, the forest guards will just be like, how did they say it? It will be like reinforcements, But the real intelligence, the real combing of the forest will be done by people that know the terrain. That's people from the states concerned. Let's go back again to the trust fund. How will the trust fund be managed? What are the procedures of using the monies from the trust fund to get the things that you need? That is one thing they have to think about again, because when it concerns money, there are always frictions here and there. Another thing they mentioned that really is important to me is intelligence sharing.
Yeah.
This insecurity is affecting everybody. So intelligence sharing shouldn't be, I know this, I don't want to share this with you. It should go round. Everybody should be updated at the same time.
So, Ria, Governor Dapo Abiodun, after meeting, with the governors in Oyo State, Seyi Makinde has played host to, different personalities. Recently, he did for the PDP, which later turned out to people describing it as maybe a WhatsApp group, etc. But this time round, he has played host to, the Southwestern governors who are coming together to, take a decisive step against insecurity. So when the Governor Abiodun got back to Ijebu, he said that everyone coming into the state, they will have to be, one, regulated in terms of business. They also have to be registered. And I think that's a very sweet move. But so many people are coming into Ogun State. Ogun State is a gateway state. And then all other states within the southwest, even across the nation, should we begin to profile anyone who comes into a place? So much so that when you see something, you say something and act.
Ibrahim, I'll agree with you on this, because for me, whatever will make the people of Nigeria safe, I go for it. At this point, that is where I am at, because the level of insecurity is alarming. So anything that will walk through, and I love the fact that he was there, he had conversations with them, and he went back to say this, but it's going to be very difficult. Talk is cheap. We can say anything. At the end of the day, how are we tightening our borders? Let's even go to our borders. Are we really tightening these borders? Are we just very, very reactive and not proactive? We keep saying that our borders are porous. We keep saying that people are coming in from outside. How are they coming in? What are the processes for them to enter? Is it just free for them to enter? So I feel like in terms of security, there's a lot of things that need to be done. And we are just talking. I think it's high time that we now start putting actions in place. What he said is a good initiative, but now how many people do you want to profile? I do not know how they're going to implement that, because a lot of people go there. There are so many things.
I think it's just right that people get registered when they get.
Of course, but then again, a lot of people are going to Ogun. For me, Ibrahim, like I said, it's not about the talking. How will it be done? What is the process of registering these people? For me, that's just it.
You go to Ogun State once you want to start business. Everybody will know. You go to Ogun State as an individual, they might not know, but you want to invest. That means you want to settle down there. Once you start any entrepreneurial move, you have made yourself public.
But I told these people that are going, they are not going to start businesses.
But another thing is the emergency lines. I do not know how many people know it. I don't know how functional it is. I remember some time ago when I was still in Ibadan, I had maybe gunshot or something, and I called the emergency line. They picked it, and they were like, okay, where is the location? I gave them the location. I didn't see any deployment of
That's another thing that we need to talk about.
And they called me when the day broke, and they said, how is your environment now? Is it okay? Are you guys okay?
And that is why a lot of people have also lost hope and lost trust. There's so many. I get so passionate when we talk about things like this, because imagine this is your experience, calling, and they're calling you the next morning. What if something has happened to you? And that's why most Nigerians would not even want to call and just want to take, power into their hands.
Some will not even pick. Now, so schools are under lock and key. Talk about some schools in Bauchi, in the north, even in Abuja, etc.
Ibrahim, if we were you with what is happening, if you were in the north, would you send your child to school?
No one is even saying that. I'm saying, yes, that is the first thing to do, because you have to do everything to make sure they don't come back again and abduct these children. But the critics are saying, listen, people are going to school in the south and they're going to school other regions. This is a failure of government ensuring that we have adequate security. I do not know, where do we stand, about this, closure of school, because it is not December yet.
Is it necessary that the schools are closed? My answer is yes. So whether people are going to school in the south, in the east, it doesn't matter to me.
Safety first,
So because people are going to school in the south and the rest, you're going to expose your children to danger that is certain. So the people that are doing that argument, do they have kids there?
When you have kids, I feel like you totally understand. Even though I know that education is very important, every child needs education. But if your life is now, at the forefront, you need to be alive to go to school. But now I want this to be a wake-up call to our government to make sure that we have peace back so that these children can go to school.
That's right.
Because, one of those stories, they got intelligence and he didn't listen to the intelligence. That's why those children were taken. Yeah. So it's a very complex conversation.
Let's move on to the Daily Times, as well as the Hope newspaper, talking about Nigeria and the U.S. relationship. Federal government assures talks with U.S. officials and will strengthen security partnership protection. And then there is this as federal government launches 5-year counter-terrorism plan. And these 5 main national goals are building a free and democratic society, building a just and egalitarian society, building a united, strong and self-reliant nation, building a great and dynamic economy, building a land full of bright opportunities for all citizens. I don't want to say talk is cheap.
That's the foundation for the creation of any country, anywhere in the world. You achieve those things, then your country is thriving. The interesting thing for me is the NSA succeeded in getting the United States to say, look, let us collaborate. It was a high-powered security and diplomatic team that went to the United States and met some congressmen and women over there, and that's what they came out with. And that is beautiful. It is fantastic, especially when you set it against the hard line that the President of the United States has been carrying, and people have been talking about it over and over again. From the very beginning, I had always said we need collaboration, not intimidation. So it's heartwarming to see that, yes, steps towards that direction are being taken. But we should not relax because we are seeing progress on that side. Because there is a possibility of the hard line of President Trump to come to the fore in the near future.
At the end of the day, we can always, I feel like as we're talking, let's be implementing. That's the only way that, we can see goals, not just talking and not like really putting in the work. At the end of the day, I've spoken about the relationship between Nigeria and US. We need that relationship. We cannot isolate ourselves. That's why you always see the president travels, because one tree cannot build a forest. So I'm also to US, they should help us. The threats are just getting too much. If you want to help us, because it's getting out of hand.
I think I'm averse to US, bringing down, sending their boats to the ground here in Nigeria.
No, not that. I'm like, if they want to help us, there are different ways they can help us. That's what I'm saying. The threats are getting too much. There's so many intelligence sharing and all of that.
Because the president himself is even against mercenaries, because he's saying that we can also employ the, service of mercenaries. We know that mercenaries were used in Libya, used in some other places, and then by the time they finish the job, they will not want to go back. We know the Wagner group, themselves too. They are always, ready to serve as mercenaries. But by the time they are done, the guns and all of those things that they use up for prosecuting, to prosecute, that
assignments.
Assignments. They now go back to taking into criminality. But one thing is, do you not notice, according to what one person said, an author, something Omojua, he was speaking with the U.S. person, I think in Canada, they have a meeting there. And then he said, why was it that when Donald Trump made these pronouncements and then calling Nigeria S-hole, not to use the word because of broadcast term, then we started having uprising, we started having insecurity here and there. Could this not be that what Donald Trump is even saying is fueling more crimes, more terrorism within the country?
Which shouldn't be. I've heard that theory a lot of times, but I said it that I hope this is a wake-up call to us to fight insecurity, not for us to start more insecurity. Make it make sense.
You have to think. You have to think of the mentality of the bandits, the terrorists, and the rest. So you, big boy, you say you are coming to fight us. We did here.
I feel like for me is the audacity.
You are sounding like Femi Fanikaide when he said, Trump, don't worry, come here. We are not a walkover. And it's so sad. It's so sad that US was talking about, insisting on, is Nigeria ready for a relationship? And I, suspect that the US government, one way or the other, might be complicit. Because if you can't say you want to come and fight insecurity, that Christians are being faced with genocide, and then we have Israel bombing the hell out of Gaza. This same Donald Trump, had also, boasted that We go into country, we fight wars. We don't even know the reason why we are there. I mean, people don't know the reason why we are there. We are not there to win war. We stay there for 15 years. We bomb the hell out of everybody. You know, you can imagine someone talking like that. And that's why Professor Wole Soyinka said, that's a mad way of thinking.
But you know that Donald Trump is not a very presidential president. He talks. When he talks, he doesn't
talks with all emotion.
Yes, there are no holes barred. But at the end of the day, the gist of what he is saying becomes very clear. For me and the Nigerian situation, I would prefer collaboration. I would prefer collaboration. And for the United States to ask if Nigeria is ready for that collaboration, there are questions that have not been answered.
But we still need to be very, very careful. We need to be skeptical about our relationship with the US, and then we need to also draw the lines. Like this.
But Ibrahim, at the end of the day, if they want to help us, collaboration is the best way to go about it. Instead of the threat, for me, it's the threat that doesn't just sit well with me.
But how many countries, as the US helped, you know, they went to help Libya. We see what Libya is now. They've gone to Afghanistan. We see what it is now. They've gone to Iraq, Syria, etc. We see how their help has gotten them, you know, this countries.
And those countries you mentioned, the United States had boots on the ground on those countries. I don't want boots on the ground in Nigeria.
Of course, nothing happened.
Yes, I don't want boots on the ground in Nigeria. What I am saying is, let us collaborate. Let's share intelligence. Let's give us access to some of your technology
we have to do
and so on.
Russia,
other countries,
India, China,
Nigeria has options, though. Nigeria has
the US
options.
is just angry that we're looking elsewhere, and that's the reality. Well, I understand that that's about it for the newspapers up for review today. Coming up on TVC Breakfast, a major shake-up in security protection as VIPs lose police escorts. We break down the implications and the cost of this decision. Just stay with us. We'll be right back.